Welcome in, everybody. This is Dynasty Mode, the unofficial EA Sports college football video game podcast. My name is Arky Shea. That is Demetri Ravanos. Demetri, I don't want to waste time even talking to you, really.
Oh, dear.
Because I want to get to the show.
Okay. Then let me just very quickly add a whoop whoop and let's do it.
I feel like it's talking, right? I feel like that is some discussion. Okay. You talked at me. Okay, that's fine. I can talk at you. You can talk at me. Let's just not talk to each other. I like that.
Fair.
Okay. As we get more and more into the weeds of this here video game, we like to talk about literally everything on this podcast, right? Like everything with this video game. It's just obviously so cool. And one of the things that I am excited to get to is the fact that with this new game means we have the introduction of multiple new teams since we had the last video game. And what that definitely means, of course, it's new stadiums, of course, it's uniforms, of course, it's all the accoutrement with it, but it's also team prestige star ratings, baby. That's what we're talking about. That's how we get into this game. And we want to not only talk about what their ratings will be, these new teams, but also let's go back and look at a few of these bad boys from 14 and see if they stand up to the test of time.
All right, Arky, how many, if you know off the top of your head, tell me, but how many 6-star programs were there in the game in 2014?
Well, I have them all written down, to be honest with you. Let's see.
Are you guessing or are you counting? Because if you're
counting.
counting, okay, it's 11.
Do what?
I've got 11. Is that what you have?
Okay, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Okay, I've got almost 3 times as many 1-star programs, which seems right. Like to achieve the top tier should be something really special, right?
That's true. That is true. But to also be the worst of the worst.
Agreed. Like
it's difficult.
There are some teams on here that, like, I'm not talking about the 2024 game when it comes out, right? Which will be, it'll come out in 23. It'll be NCAA 24 or college football 24. If you looked at where these teams were before the 2013 season, it really does feel like there should be some sort of sub 1-star designation available for Eastern Michigan at that point.
Man, they were
awful.
Oh man, that's not even a word you can use. Like that's complimentary to what Eastern Michigan used to be.
Agreed.
Right?
I was looking at these 27 programs.
And this is pre like coaches wearing like oil, oil, car oil. I wouldn't say salesman.
Yeah. Like garage workers. Yep.
Yeah. You were working like an oil changing shop. And
correct me if I'm wrong. This was pre-Gray Field, right?
Ooh, I have to look. I think you might be right. Pre-Gray Field. I did not spend a lot of time at Eastern Michigan.
Sure.
When I previously played. Although in the new Dynasty that I am starting, which will be the final Dynasty I ever do of 2014. I might find my way over to Eastern Michigan. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just a lowly coordinator. I can't make the schedules and all.
Yeah.
But you know what?
All right, so I want you for a second to think back to where those teams were. So Eastern Michigan would be that sub 1-star program. I think you could make the argument then that UAB might have been one of those sub 1-star programs too.
This feels like 7 minutes away from UAB being shuttered, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is probably a year away from when we lose those 2 years of UAB football.
Yeah, and granted, there is some political things behind the scenes, and I completely get that. But they were good. Like they did. The board of trustees at the University of Alabama did not shutter an 11-win team just for the hell of it.
Right. I think at that point they had been playing football. When they got shuttered, they've been playing football for, I want to say, 22 years and had been to Abel.
In fact, I think when they came back, I think that was the thing. It was like where they doubled the amount of bowl games they've gone to, like in their first year, and of course now they're the best team ever, FCUSA.
That's right. But, so let me do this. Let me run down real fast the 27 1-star teams just to give people an idea of the jumping off point of what we are coming back from.
Okay, I do want to just mention this briefly. We are not going every single team re-looking at their prestige ratings, because some of them are the same, some of them are boring, for frankly. But there's just some notable ones that we found that we want to talk about, and of course, some. Well, let's save some of the dynamite content for the next couple of minutes.
All right. So, do you want me to run down the ones and then run down the sixes, and we'll dive into the whole thing?
Let's just run down the ones first, because the ones I have some of these that I want to sort of re-adjudicate.
Okay. All right, so there are 27 one-star teams in NCAA 14 in alphabetical order.
That's practically, like back then, that's practically 25% of all of college football is the worst team, which is ridiculous, right?
But at the same time, is it inaccurate to actual college football? 25% of the teams have no reason to be here.
That's true. How many years of 3 straight wins do you have to get to 2 stars?
That's right. All right, so here we go. In alphabetical order: Akron, Army, Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, FAU, FIU, Georgia State, Idaho, rest in peace, Louisiana Tech, Memphis, Middle Tennessee State, New Mexico State, North Texas, Old Dominion, San Jose State, South Alabama, Texas State, Tulane, UAB, UL Lafayette, UMass, UTEP, UTSA, we'll skip one, Western Kentucky, Western Michigan, and Arky, there was one Power 5 one-star team. A team that I think might be the candidate for the biggest jump when the game returns.
Okay.
Washington State.
All right. So let's just start with the 1 stars, okay? Because, again, I have my note cards.
Yep.
I've written down the ones I think that are interesting, and we're not going to go probably not in depth with every single one of these. But these are ones I think that are interesting. And since you brought up the 1 stars, I'll go back and do the alphabetical later. But since you brought up Washington State, my biggest question to you was going to be: did Mike Leitch do enough at Washington State? Because that's what we're talking about, essentially, right?
Yeah.
The majority of that time from the 2013 college football season, 2014 game, to when this game comes back out, there's only a few seasons that aren't going to be Mike Leitch worthy. Did Mike Leitch take this team from a 1 star to much more?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, remember that this is largely a reaction to the Paul Wolf era. And Paul Wolf is, I mean, look, I think it is important to acknowledge just the horrible things he was going through in his personal life during the time that we know now. But Paul Wolf was one of the least successful Power 5 coaches ever.
It was bad.
Yeah, this
really
game
bad.
comes out, and it is Mike Leach's second season. He had coached 1 season at Washington State. That season, the Cougs went 3-9. That was, remember, Leach's first season there. Leitch came on the scene after Paul Wolf's best season at Washington State, when they won 4 games. So it is understandable why you would put them in that conversation. I still think by virtue of being in the Pac-12, they deserved better than 1 star.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about if you're going to be a Power 5 team, right? You got to be like just miserable to get 1 star. Like right. Just from conference prestige alone, like you're going to get a little bit of a pump, right? So I would allow for obviously Washington State to be better in the new game, and it's pretty clear that they will be. But let's just go on the record now. Let's say when this game comes out, assuming the conference, the team prestige still exists, pretty sure it will. How many stars is Washington State at?
So, who is the new head coach? Is his name Jake Dickert, I believe?
Easy with the language.
Rolo. I mean, so Leitch obviously did very good things. Leitch had them on the verge of playing in the championship game. I want to say his, maybe not his last 2 years, but 2 of his last 3 years, I believe. Rolo came in and did pretty well considering, and then obviously decided not getting a shot was more important than, continuing his career as the head coach at Washington State and so on and so forth. That being said, we cannot take away from the fact that, that team has been rolling, kind of. At least they've been rolling to the standpoint of, like, since Leitch's, all right, since the game went away, right? The 2014 season, they were 3-9. The COVID year, they were 1-3. Every other year, they've gone to a bowl game. Like,
but there was that 1-3 year. You're like, dude, where are all the games?
Right? Well, fair. Like, how were you so bad you couldn't even get game? Oh, right. I would say that this is easily a 3-star program in the next game.
Oh, for sure. Can you give them 4?
That's why I think they're a candidate to be the biggest riser ever. They're the only team I can look at as making a 3-star jump up to a 4.
I think there is a team that'll make a bigger jump than what you just mentioned. We'll talk about in a minute. I think 3 stars is completely fair. Like, you can't just shut that team's progress down. But 1 star was
I mean, it was borderline mean, right? Like,
well, they basically said, all right, no one's gonna do the game if we make a 0 star. So we got some of these teams that need to be, I guess, 1s.
I gotta say, it was almost like
a 7-star.
It was almost like a gift. It was almost like hey, have you never played this game before? Here's your chance to get good real fast.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had a decent roster in that game.
Yeah, so when I was looking at my potential job for the next place, like Washington State wasn't even a place I considered, because my thing was I was trying to get on with the worst of the worst of the worst, and Washington State wasn't even in there. In fact, if I go back and I look at my notes real quick, because for some reason I have this ish, I might be able to tell you exactly how far off they were from being the very worst.
While you're doing that, let's sort of talk about that idea of a 1-star Power 5 program. If you are projecting into the future, it seems like Vanderbilt would be the ideal candidate. But if you do it based on the last handful of seasons before the new game comes out, do you know who the last Kansas coach to win more than 3 games was? In a single season, obviously.
It better not be Mark Mangino.
It was Mark Mangino.
Can it really be Mark Mangino?
2009. Nobody at Kansas has won more than 3 games in a season since 2009. And that includes 2 seasons, asterisk, one of them was the COVID year, where they did not win any games. And 2 seasons where they won a single game.
As much as I want to make fun of them, make fun of Texas for losing to them, it has to be Kansas.
It has to be.
It would have to be Kansas. It's the literal only option in that case.
Give it 3 years, Vanderbilt will join them. Like, their path forward is pretty hopeless, but right now Kansas seems like the only potential, and I think it'd be justified to make them a 1-star program.
I can't find that note on a fast enough tape, but I will bring that back to you at some point.
All
maybe we'll talk about it. But yeah, they were waiting out on the list for me to be considered. Which, by the way, let's go State. Anyway, so all right. So I told you, I think there is a bigger star.
Panthers?
There's a bigger star jump that I think will happen.
Okay.
And we've already talked about it. I think it's UAB.
I think UAB has a chance. Okay, you go ahead and make the case, and I'll tell you sort of why I hesitated on them, because they are my only other team that I think has the potential.
The only reason I think you should have any hesitation is because they're not in a Power 5 conference, and they don't get that sort of automatic boost of being there. But since this game was gone, if there were that 0 star, UAB would be that 0 star. And so since that game has been gone, this team did not exist.
Yeah.
Right, for a couple of seasons. They came back and immediately started winning game after game, conference championships, divisions, and multiple conference championships, going to bowl games, and all doing it under one head coach during that time. I think if there's going to be a worst to best possible jump at this point, I mean, God bless Washington State. They have not played in the conference or won the conference championship game. UAB has and won multiple times. So I think for that, and because I think you get an extra quarter star for really nice story, I think that has the biggest shot to be the best. By the way, why you don't get quarter stars or half stars is beyond me.
Yeah, that actually is a good question. The zombie half star, I think, is worth throw it out there. Now, help me remember here, because I only sort of looked at the ratings very quickly. Wasn't Boise State the only G5 team above a 3-star program in the game?
Dude, Boise's on my list to talk about, but I will tell you, yes, they are above a 3-star.
They were a 5-star. I distinctly remember they were a 5-star program. I want to say they were the only G5 that rose that high, and that is kind of why I hesitate to say UAB could be above a 3-star, because you've got to think about the incredibly special prolonged run that Boise had to have to get that consideration. And UAB, while they have been very impressive to those of us that follow college football and know the story, they don't have that run away from the pack season, let alone string of seasons that seems to be necessary to break above the 3-star ceiling.
Okay, 2 possible addendums to what you said. BYU was a 4-star, but they're an independent, not a group of 5, so it's a little different. What year did TCU join the Big 12?
TCU was a member of the Big 12 by the time that game came out. I want to say
were, right?
They were. I want to say
they were also a 5-star program.
I want to say, did TCU join the Big 12 in the 2012 season? I want to say they directly came in and replaced Texas A&M.
I feel like I don't think you're wrong on that. I just don't have that in the queue of my knowledge right now to have it up. What was Clemson? Were they group of 5?
Clemson was in the MAC at this point, so that is a fair point.
So that's one that would you consider? Yeah, that would be good. Okay. So that would be my candidate for the highest possible riser from literally from ashes to and again, I think 3-star is a nice top out point for what they are. Because again, you think about the history of what they have, it's really super recent history.
For sure. I mean, to put it in perspective, in Ncaa 2014, Mississippi State is a 3-star. And remember, the next year, they were the number 1 team in the country at one point.
The greatest stat of all that you should all remember, the first team to ever be ranked number 1 in the college football playoff rankings ever was Mississippi State.
In perpetuity.
That's right. It never changed. As we know, by the way, Mike Leitch is coaching a defending national championship program right now. So, okay. So what I find, interesting about the 1-stars, and some of these we can rapid fire through because there are more interesting ones out there. Army's a 1-star. There's no way they're 1-star again.
No,
right? Like they've had too much success since then. They were horrendous.
Yes.
Right. But they've turned it to a running juggernaut that they're in bowl games almost every year.
I think the reality is both of the independent, or I guess both of the East Coast service academies will be 2-star programs in this next game. Navy has really come back to the pack. Army just hasn't quite had that exactly same as UAB. They haven't had that run of undeniable seasons that I think they need to be pushed to a 3. I'd be comfortable saying both Army and Navy are 2-stars in this next game.
FAU is a 1-star, but they've earned their way up, I think, to a 2nd-star. Especially, who was the coach right before Lane Kiffin? That was the former.
Was that
Randy Shannon?
Paul Petrino?
Was Paul Petrino right before that?
I think so.
They got that started, then Lane Kiffin sort of took it to tremendous heights with the I don't even know the brand of cherries, the Cherdundies.
Cheribundi.
Cheribundi Dundies. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. We first of all, Paul Petrino, never the coach at FAU. I was thinking of Carl Pelini. Two coaching brothers. Charlie Partridge is who we skipped over.
Dude, that's the name that's like, how some names like just do nothing for you?
Yeah, exactly.
That's one.
Okay, so here's the thing. All right, Charlie Partridge was there for 3 years, and for 3 straight seasons, all of these are the Carl Pelini gets fired in the middle of the year, maybe for doing cocaine on campus. One of the great college football stories ever. Maybe. That's the key. Maybe. So the next 3 years, right, are the 3 years, or the 3 years that begin us not having the game. Charlie Partridge is 3-9 all 3 of those years. Lane Kiffin comes to town, 11-3 out of the gate. Then Lane goes 5-7. Then he goes 11-3 again and bolts.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then Willie Taggart comes to town.
Taggart, that's the guy I was thinking of. Yeah,
sure.
Willie Taggart.
5-4 in the COVID year, 5-7 last year. I think they're a 2-star team. They're not 1-star,
but not one. Yeah, but not with what I'm saying. Banned from the game is FIU. I see. That I know we did it to Idaho, but we really should kick FIU out. Like, Arky, there's nothing redeemable about that. And again, you have ties.
Here's the thing, Arky. You're not wrong. Like, this is going to be an extended run of misery for my other alma mater. I mean, when you have a coach leave and say the school is actively trying to sabotage the program, if you are EA Sports, Tiburon, whatever, how do you even consider making them anything other than a 1-star?
My favorite story will always be the fact that FIU is getting 8-year-old hand-me-down shoulder pads from Mississippi State.
Boy, well, again, Arky, they were national champion shoulder pads.
That's true. 8 years ago was the first of their national championships that we're talking about. That is my fault. But, whew, man.
The great Dan Mullen dynasty.
Okay, so honorable mention to my Georgia State. Won't be 1-star for long. I got you, Holmes.
I don't think they're 1-star. I think they're 2-star in this next game.
Listen, like, they'd also been around for like 9 seconds, right? Like,
fair.
So like, I'm like, what are you gonna? Hey, that's a 7-star team. Look, I like the state. That's a recruiting hotbed there.
Yes, indeed.
Atlanta's hot. By the way, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is hot.
Prime real estate, really.
Prime real estate. It is. We get to play at Turner's Field. Eventually, right now I'm playing in the Georgia Dome. I hear so that's cool. The old one, not the cool new one. Idaho.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
They were in the wrong stadium, but also that stadium has been knocked out.
Idaho, rest in peace. Just wanted to mention because they're not in there, as you mentioned. No way, Memphis is a 1-star.
No way, Louisiana Tech's a 1-star.
Say it again.
You said you skipped right to Memphis. I said no way Louisiana Tech's a 1-star either.
Oh, well, no, I'm not going through all of them. I'm just going to the ones that are interesting to me. Like, this is the one I pulled from there. Like, there's Memphis, more, trust me. I'm not mentioning all of them.
Memphis is almost certainly a 3-star. Like, forget just the records. The fact that they have turned into this ACC coaching factory cannot be overlooked because they were not that when this last game came out.
You should consider that when you're putting your stars.
Right.
Like, which power conference are we channeling our talent to?
That's right.
If any, and in this case, it's clearly a good one. One that's got a good team or two. Louisiana, by the way, no longer a 1-star either. By the way, you were talking about how they were Louisiana, like Lafayette earlier.
Yeah,
they're Louisiana now. Okay, they have been for a few seasons.
Arky, I genuinely wonder if this was a matter of developers got the two confused, there was a typo, or they just don't follow Sunbelt football enough to know which is which. But Monroe is a 2-star.
Monroe is amazing. I'm only remembering one time that they beat a Power 5 team.
They are the last G5 team. No, that's not true because Utah was a G5 team at the time. I was about to say that the last G5 team to beat Nick Saban. Not correct. Yeah, I mean, like, that had to be the carryover, right? Like, because even in 2013, there's no way you would look at those two programs. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Lafayette had Mark Hudspeth and was kind of rolling at that point.
I don't know if they were rolling. It may have been like at the beginning. I would say maybe the beginning of the quote unquote rolling for Mark Hudspeth. Yeah, I'm not. I would have to go back at the time as far as the Hudspeth rolling years.
The 3 years leading into the release of that game, Mark Hudspeth 9-4, 9-4, 9-4.
Okay, so yeah, so they were rolling. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't even know what to do with UMass, right? Like you have to give them one, but like, you know, if you look at all the attributes, for example, like I have one of the worst teams. Sorry guys, if you're listening, I have one of the worst teams. In fact, the worst teams that I could possibly have ever even imagined. And here are my position ratings. My offensive line 124th in every position.
Yep.
My quarterback 124th out of every position. My halfback 124th. Fullback 53rd. Whatever.
Well, you know what they say about Georgia State fullbacks.
That's where the bread is buttered.
They're good. Yeah, yeah. That's where the bread is buttered.
Good. But UMass is worse.
Where the pop tart is cream cheesed.
That's a bagel river. That like. But UMass is worse.
Yeah,
they're worse than that. And like the my halfback, who is the 53rd best halfback in the entire country, didn't know there were 53 halfbacks. My halfback is rated like 73 and he's at 53, and that's like one of the highest rated dudes I've got. UMass has got to be like, bro.
Yeah, because all halfbacks, or excuse me, all fullbacks come into the game with the 49 rating. Like, it doesn't matter how many stars they have in the recruiting process; they all get signed with a 49 rating.
Yeah, but well, I mean, this guy's a senior, so he's had some time to bulk up. To be honest with you,
he came in as a 42.
He's the only guy that showed up to any of the workouts. Apparently, listen, guys, don't listen to anything I'm saying. We're gonna be fine this year. We're gonna be fine. By the way, we played North Carolina State this year. That's breaking news there for you.
Oh, I'll be there
at NC State. So, sweet. I can get you some tickets to that. Maybe.
Great.
I don't know. I'm the road guy, so I don't think I can.
Fair.
Okay, but yeah, UMass. Like, let me ask you this before we move on to 2 stars. Should there be a 0 star?
No, that would be needlessly cruel.
Well, no, I get how like. From everything standpoint,
I think that the extreme ends, the 1 star and the 6 star, should be equally as
difficult,
exclusive.
Well, okay, okay, all right, but then let's move to the 2 stars. I find interesting.
Okay, hang on. Before you do that, let's run through the new teams real fast.
Okay,
You tell me, Arky, how many true 1 stars? Like, we expect there's no way this team will not debut in the game as a 1-star program. Do we hear in this list of 8 teams?
Yeah, and at the caveat, we know the prestige does carry some like academics, but who the hell knows?
Sure.
Like, I have no idea what Old Dominion's academics are like.
All right. Remember, 8 teams. I'm going to run through all 8 in alphabetical order. You tell me how many are undeniably 1-star programs the first time they are in the EA Sports video game.
Go.
App State, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, Jacksonville State, James Madison, Liberty, Sam Houston.
3 undeniables.
Really?
I think there's 3 Do you think that's low?
I think that's high. No, I think that's high. There is 1 undeniable to me, maybe 2.
Okay, I think Jacksonville State's undeniable.
Okay.
I think Sam Houston State's undeniable. And
I disagree, but go ahead.
Listen, I understand how good they've been right at their level, right? But you still got to go up to the. You got to earn these bits, son.
Fair.
And I think James Madison is the other one. Again, I get how, and I'm also thinking Charlotte's in that neighborhood too. So I'm thinking 3.5, 4. 3 is undeniable. I can be talked into 4. The other, I think, are 2-star better.
I think Jacksonville State is undeniable. James Madison and Sam Houston have recent FCS national championships. I think that's enough to get you to a 2. I think,
but they didn't exist according to the game, even in 4. Like they just became a team this next year.
I understand that doesn't mean they all have to start as 1. I mean, by that designation, they and App State should be starting on the same plane, and App State is probably going to start as a 3-star program.
Well, do you think in that case that you would think a James Madison is better than a UMass?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely not. They get crushed.
I think that, like, if we're going down the new teams, App State is probably a 3. Charlotte's that borderline one for me. They could be a 1. They could be a 2. Coastal's a 2. Georgia Southern. You know what? I'd say Georgia Southern might be borderline because they've got the history, but they have really fallen on some hard times lately. Jacksonville State's a 1. James Madison's a 2. Liberty's a 2. Sam Houston's a 2.
Yeah, I'm with you on Coastal being a 2. I mean, there's some fun history, like new history, but like that's
Right.
really really new money.
They have
There,
a man in a chicken costume that rides a Sea-Doo onto the field before the game.
get it on the game.
Like that's a
Ugh.
6-star. That's a 6-star attitude, as far as I'm concerned.
If Georgia Tech has the Ramblin' Wreck coming onto the field, and if Oklahoma has the Boomer soon, you have. Does that chicken have a name on the Sea-Doo?
I mean, I assume he's. You know what? Yeah, keep talking. I'll find out.
The guy from Tiger King, Sea-Doo guy,
James something.
That's right. I think you could get that into the game. There's 100% chance they submitted that. You just have to.
It'd be a shame if they didn't.
It would be.
Chauncey is his name.
That can't be real.
Chauncey the Chanticleer.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do appreciate that aspect in the cute field and all that stuff, but that's super super new money. When you talk about like Liberty, I feel like has been there enough to get 2 stars, right? Like with essentially with Hugh Freeze.
I mean, yeah. So recent history, sure. Yeah, I mean they've done enough to get 2 stars. Like I don't know why you said that, and I was considering like, do they have enough to get 3 stars? And I was trying to justify it because the answer is absolutely not. They will come. Okay, here is the only way they do not come into the game as a 2-star, because there is a way. What if they come out this year and they fall on their ass without Malik Willis?
Okay, fair.
Because remember, the other thing about Liberty is
they weren't great with Malik last year.
No, they weren't great with
they were like that 7-win team when I thought they'd be like a 9-10 win team.
Well, and here's the other thing too, right? Like Hugh Freeze, I think we still consider him a good football coach, a good X&O football coach. But man, they've played such a dog shit schedule. Like that, the 2020, the COVID year was the product of such a bad schedule.
That Friday game at Syracuse is not something to be trifled with.
Arky?
Thumbs up?
Thumbs up. That's all you need to know about that Friday game at Syracuse.
That was, by the way, the second of the home and home between, the thumb up from being at Liberty.
Yeah.
From the
Can we like that's got to be in the game, right?
No. It's not going to be. I'd love it to be in the game. Like, I think the thing that makes college football so great is all the weird quirk uniqueness
Absolutely.
of it. That I think that there's not a Hugh Freeze in the world that's literally going to laugh at himself for that and be okay with that.
It's too bad. What if instead of the bed, he was in the dentist chair?
Better.
Okay, good.
At least he's upright. Like, he can be upright. Okay, so I don't have nearly as many 2, 3, 4-star ones I want to go to. I just but I am interested in your opinion. Because you're near it. 2-star was Duke.
Mm-hmm.
They a 1-star now?
No, still a 2-star.
Still a 2.
Till between this game going away and coming back, they accomplished enough to even be considered in the running for a 3, but they have fallen off in a way that 2 seems right.
They've been really uncharacteristically good and characteristically bad since the game has been down. So last year being a really bad year.
Yes, indeed.
How about your Hawaii Bows? They're a 2-star.
Oh, buddy, welcome to 1. Like they're in such a mess financially that it is going to be. I mean, it's just really hard to project them forward, right? Like Rolovich and the.
I'm glad you finally said his last name fully, because you sounded like when we were talking about him at Washington State that you were on like good terms to be able to call him Rolo.
Well, he's on good terms with every Hawaii fan. He has liked multiple tweets of mine.
Okay. All right.
The Rolovich and the run and shoot was a big part of their success. So I do not necessarily have a problem with saying like that is gone now. So what are we? I mean, you hired Nevada's wide receivers coach as your head coach.
Let me say this. The worse these teams can get for me, the better I feel about becoming their head coach earlier in my career.
I got to say,
I would love to be a Hawaii in my first go as a 1-star.
I got to tell you, don't think that hasn't crossed my mind.
Iowa State's a 2-star. That's a drastic differently a team than what we saw a decade ago.
Yes, but yes, they have had drastically better seasons, but they are a collection of seasons as opposed to like true improvement. I could see them staying at a 2. I think they are like, let me rephrase. I think they're going to be a 3. I would not have a problem if they stayed at a 2.
Again, this is all contingent on the fact that we can lose stars too. That's what I want had to happen. You should be able to lose them in the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you're crappy. Kentucky, another big one that was 2 stars. That's I'm good with that being a 4-star team because it's. I was about to say,
I think they will almost certainly be a 4-star team in the next game.
And UConn's a 2-star team. Woof! What has happened? That ain't right.
Yeah. UConn. I'm gonna call them U-star. UConn is like undeniably a 1-star team.
We talk about
you know what, Arky, if I may, I said it would be too mean to go 0 stars, but if your administration has actively come out and said, yeah, we just don't care about football, why would you not rate them 0 stars?
That's true. You'd be like, well, this is a football game. 0 stars.
Exactly. This is football pretend. If you don't want to play, 0 stars.
Here's some of the 3-star ones I'm interested in. You mentioned the only Power 5 team that was a 1-star was Washington State. The other team we talked about discussing that is a 3-star, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 3-star. Now, more recently, they had the James Franklin 9-win seasons, but that team is no longer a 3-star, right?
No, not even close. I mean, that is a 2-star. Again, I think they will, within the decade, be a 1-star program if this game keeps being made. But they're definitely a 2-star once the game comes back.
How about Cincinnati?
Interesting.
That's close. I think they're close to 4. I don't know if they are 4.
You know what?
You would think going to the college football playoff last year.
Going to the college football playoff last year, they
win 2 games next year.
I mean, you got to expect they'll probably be back in the championship game next year. UCF didn't get appreciably better to really challenge them, so they'll be back in the AAC championship game. Then they moved to the Big 12. I could see them being a 4-star team.
4-star going into the Big 12. UCF is on that. We just mentioned them. Still 3. It's got to be 3-star.
I think it's 3-star. I think the further we get away from 2017, the more we realize that was a special team, not necessarily a special program. Although I do think this is important to note. It does seem to me that as long as you are invested in actually doing your job, not the last year of George O'Leary, you should be able to regularly win double-digit games there. So if they were 4, I wouldn't complain, but I think their performance dictates they are still a 3-star program.
This is why college football is so great. You know, George O'Leary, you're like, oh, the guy live on his resume.
That's right. One of my all-time favorite Jon Stewart jokes on The Daily Show was about that whole scandal. Because remember, the 2 lies were that he lettered at where was it that he said he played? Was it Navy, maybe?
I can't
remember where it was he said he played, but he said he on his resume he said he lettered at whichever school this was, and he had a master's in education. Both of those were not true, and Jon Stewart's joke was, if you would like to be a college football coach, perhaps the 2 lies you should not tell would be A, I went to college, and B, I played football.
It's good. Like the greatest lies are the ones that are easiest to find out. So why tell them? They're the easiest ones. 2 more I think that are interesting about 3 stars, and we'll move on from them. Houston.
I'm okay with.
I think some of this also to the conference that they're in versus what they're about to be in versus the success they've had. I don't know. Houston, I would listen to a case for 4-star.
I would listen to a case, but ultimately I would land on 3-star. I think they are in really good position to become a bully in the new Big 12. But they haven't done it yet. That is a lot of projection based on the fact that better teams are not there. And I can't dismiss the idea that if I'm basing my pick on the fact that better teams are not there, you probably are a 3-star program in a 3-star league.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Okay, last one for the 3 stars. Ole Miss.
Yeah, 3-star.
Okay. Well, here the thing, it's not just about the sort of recent success of like, getting into the Sugar Bowl and being, a BCS / college football 6 kind of bowl
that's
game.
true.
But I think it's also like when you think about how different a lot of these stadiums are going to look, the investments and I think a lot of these teams' conferences, especially, will look so different because of how many more schools care, like that they're visibly showing that they care. And so like a Houston looks better because they have invested more into that program, and maybe not because of the dollars and cents, but because you sort of see it on the field. So.
Well, and also, so I let me take that back. I would say they are probably a 4-star. Even though Matt Luke was in between them, I am running Hugh Freeze and Lane's accomplishments together in my head. I think they're a 4-star given how recently they have been to New Year's 6 bowl games. However, you make a good point. Like, as the SEC changes to a 16-team league, we'll sit here and joke about, that move to the SEC may not be super advantageous to Oklahoma. Well, Oklahoma moving to the SEC is not going to be super advantageous to the Mississippi schools.
Right. So is Ole Miss all of a sudden then going to go from a 4 to a 2?
I don't think they go from a 4 to a 2.
Can the SEC literally have 7 6-star schools?
Right. I mean, that is the conversation that you have if you're EA at some point. I don't think they fall from a 4 to a 2, but I think when you add Texas and Oklahoma, and let's say, for argument's sake, the SEC never gets any bigger than that, there's pretty solid ceiling at 3 stars on programs like Missouri, like Arkansas, like the Mississippi schools, like South Carolina. Like, how do you advance when you just do not have the commitment that all of these other teams around you do?
For sure. You ready to hit 4 stars?
Let's do some 4 stars.
Auburn's a 4-star. Now, I was thinking, Auburn's won a national championship. No, they won a championship while that game was still there.
Right.
Now, the only thing that's different is year that the last game came out, that they went to the national championship game against Florida State. And then 4 years after that, they were in the SEC championship game to go into the college football playoff semifinals. They ended up losing that game. There's only 6. Is Auburn a 5 at this point? The last couple of years don't seem to think so.
Yeah.
But since 2013, that 9-10 years, I think it's close, but I don't think so.
I think with the game coming back, with the game having been gone for 10 years, there's going to be a lot of look at history, but there's also, I think with programs like Auburn where, schizophrenia is the right word. There are just insane swings from the tip top to the very bottom. That is the Auburn experience. I think there is going to be some bias towards a lackluster, disappointing, maybe is more fair, disappointing, not lackluster, 2021 season, the mess that was the offseason there, the disappointment that the Malzahn era ended with. I think 4 is realistic.
Can we drop Washington from 4 to 3? It's not been the great. They did get to the college football semifinals.
Jimmy
16?
Lake,
17.
17,
maybe,
yeah, 17.
But outside of that,
I think Jimmy Lake undid. No, not 17, 16, right? 16.
Well, 16 or 17.
It was 16. Yeah, 17 was Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia, Oklahoma. So yeah, it had to be 16. I think Jimmy Lake undid all the good things Chris Peterson did. I'd be okay with 3. I would. I do have faith that the new staff is going to turn some stuff around, but they haven't done it yet. I'm okay with 3.
Tennessee.
They're a 4 in the last game?
Yeah, that's where I'm at 4s. We're about to get to 5s and 6s.
Man, all of Tennessee's wandering the wilderness was before the game came back.
Right? That's the thing. 4's great, right?
Yeah.
It's a really good start to be.
Well,
but
hang on. Let's correct that, because not all of their wandering the wilderness, because I believe Derek Dooley is in the last couple of games.
A significant amount.
Oh, okay.
A significant amount is fine to say.
I'm okay with 4, though. They seem to have something with Heupel.
All right, fair. 5 stars. We're rounding this thing down. Clemson, they're a 6-star now, right?
Yeah, I think so. Real quick, because I think these two groups go together, let's run down the 6 stars from the last game real fast in alphabetical order. Alabama, Florida, LSU, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Oregon. Here's the shocker. Stanford, Texas, and USC.
Okay. Does Clemson join that list of? You'd say Clemson yet multiple national championships. It has to.
Yes, I think they have to.
Boise's no longer a 5-star, right?
No, Boise's a 4-star. Yeah. Boise's a 4-star. I would even listen to an argument they're a 3, but I think they're a 4.
I mean, if you say Boise's a 5-star, you're essentially saying there's like 16 teams in the game better than them, and that's just not been the case over the last 10 years.
The reality is that, and you pointed this out to me on our old podcast when Auburn hired Harsin, where I said, like, I just never felt like Harsin was the dude the way Chris Peterson was. You pointed out to me he never missed a conference championship game at Boise, right? That streak was undone by, is Marcus Arroyo the head coach there now? Or is Arroyo the coach at UNLV?
Marcus, but yeah.
Anyway, the streak was undone then. And even then they went to a bowl game. I'm okay with 4 at Boise State.
But they do drop in your mind.
But they do drop for sure.
Florida State, they got to drop, right?
They're
5-star.
I would listen to an argument that they're a 3.
I mean, I would listen to a 3 before I'd listen to them staying as a 5.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Georgia, they earned that 6. I think a national championship gets you a 6-star.
A national
if you're a power
championship
program that's won conference championships, at that level.
A national championship in the SEC combined with another appearance in the championship game, I think that's more than enough to get that 6-star.
You know who definitely belongs? Miami. They're a 5-star too.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Wow.
How long ago are we talking? You know what I mean?
And here's the very fair. Here's the thing. I feel
like my next one too.
I think that you could justify them staying at a 5. I think realistically they're a 4, but I think they will probably be a 5 in the new game.
I think Miami's a cleaner name to have as a 5-star than Florida State, so I can see why you would change, even though the trajectory has been pretty even. For
Arky, before you say this name, should I hold on to the arms of my chair?
Nebraska?
Ooh. I mean, obviously they're not a 5. I'm just trying to consider what they were even at that point. Had they just gone to a Big Ten championship game?
In 2012? I don't know. I'll get that for you.
Man, what is Nebraska? Nebraska's easily a 3, right? Like, you can't justify them being a 4. I mean, granted, they did save college football for us all in 2020, but still, that's not enough.
Man, no one will ever convince me college football is not the best because of stories like that.
I mean, okay. So we're still in the Pelini era.
Okay, Nebraska did go to the Big Ten championship in 2012. They lost to Wisconsin 70-31.
That's right. Also, it should be pointed out,
so bad.
I'd forgotten this. The last 3 years, or the last 4 years leading into the NCAA 14, they had won 10 games 3 times. So, okay, I'm fine with them having been a 5. That wasn't an overreach. They are not that anymore.
Yeah. South Carolina's a 5-star too, man. Think about where
we were, right? Like, we're coming off of Spurrier's back-to-back 11-win seasons. Yeah, that's a 3-star program. And that's like my tussle their hair, oh, you adorable little scamp kind of team in the SEC. But that's a 3-star program.
Oh, you got a rooster as your mascot. That's cute.
That's right.
I like it.
Oh, who went to the barnyard? You did.
Oh, is his name a little like punny? Is it a little like wordplay? I like what's going on here. Is it Captain Cock? Is that what it is? No, sorry. I'm sorry. What is it?
Jeffrey Vanderwang.
Professor Cock. Oh,
that's
what is
right.
it? What did we call him? TCU.
He also teaches in the psychology department. I mean, they've fallen.
Yeah,
but
there's
probably
one more that's
to
fallen too. I'm going to mention.
Right, probably just to a 4, I would think.
TCU. I don't know. Like, there's also, we're about to have our first year without Gary Patterson. Like, I feel like ever since the games existed. So,
literally almost.
It's almost pretty close to.
For everybody doing the math in their head, yes, Gary Patterson replaced Dennis Franchioti at TCU.
Yeah, in like the 40s, I think.
That's right. That's
It
right.
feels like forever.
Gary Patterson was Dennis Franchioti's defensive coordinator.
The last 5. Wow.
That is the correct reaction.
The last 5-star, I just want to briefly. Virginia Tech. Wow, that's not a 5-star team.
No, they'll probably be listed as a 4, but more realistically, they are a 3. Let me ask you a question.
I think they're only a 4 because of Enter Sandman.
Yeah, well, and the lunch pail.
They got to keep it.
Well, I think that's the what's the new coach's name? Brett Pry. I think that's his whole thing. Is like, oh, I was one of the lunch pail guys. We're bringing it back.
That's right. We're also going to go to block and punt again.
That's right. That's our whole offense.
Yeah. I don't know why we stopped, to be honest with you, but we're back to it.
What's Baylor in the last game?
Oh, Baylor's a good one. Baylor's a 3-star.
Baylor's got to be a 5 in this game. I mean, listen, I say this as somebody that
like the
really...
RG3 cover came out while the game was like, he was so like they got up to a 3-star.
Right.
Like could they go up 67%?
I mean, they should, I think. I really do. And look, I say this as somebody that truly dislikes Baylor. They have proven over the course now of 3 different coaches that this is sustainable. If you are committed to it, this is sustainable. And they've done it with very different offenses. I think Baylor deserves to be a 5-star. I think they probably are the best outfitted with resources. Like, I do think the new Big 12, the powers, the year in, year out powers, will likely be Baylor, Houston, BYU.
All right, well, let's wrap up with the 6 stars. Alabama, I think a 4 is enough, right? 6 just seems to be like bragging at this point.
I mean, Arky, I know the traditionalists will say a 4. Look me in the eye and tell me they're not a 2. Yeah, you can't do it.
No, and I won't.
No, that's what I like about you, Arky.
Florida, as you mentioned, is a 6-star. Florida can't be a 6-star anymore.
No, I would be okay with a 5, but not a 6.
Yeah. LSU and Michigan.
Okay with both of them being a 6-star because for 2 reasons. Number one, LSU, again, similar to Baylor, but even on a bigger level, all of their last 3 coaches have won national titles, right? Like it is a recruiting powerhouse. They will be able to sustain greatness there. With Michigan, the history is such that I think you have to call them one of the blue bloods of the sport.
I think you'd have to undergo more than a Rich Rodriguez dip.
Right.
More than a who was the coach? Right,
Brady Hoke.
Brady Hoke, yeah, went back to San Diego State. Actually did well there. You'd have to go through more of a dip, even though they had some blips of success. You'd have to get yourself some like hardcore like Franchione like bad year. But he didn't even have a bad year. Like he left on a good, not on good terms.
You would have to take the Charlie Weiss that Notre Dame had and
that's what
the
you
Charlie Weiss that Kansas had.
That's right. And then you add Mangino just to see how big it could get.
Yes.
Like how big do people get?
Yes. It's insane that Charlie Weiss's son is handsome, right? Like Charlie Weiss's son should be 600 pounds.
Your dad did not set you up. This is not genetics. I don't know what this is.
That's right.
This is clearly you're adopted. That clearly. Right?
You're
There's
adopted,
nothing wrong
right?
with it. Nothing wrong with it.
Because your biological father, or at least the man you call your father, is literally a bouncy house of a human being.
With some hair attached.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
Right?
Well, they all have their themes, right? His theme is hair.
Oh, that's right. It could be hair. Notre Dame feels like it still makes sense to be a 6-star with all their history, prestige, and they've been in the playoffs.
I was about to say, using the same criteria I did for Michigan, if Michigan is still a 6-star, Notre Dame is still a 6-star.
I imagine you're sticking with Ohio State too?
Ohio State and Alabama, if you could do 7 stars, you should do 7 stars for those programs.
What kind
those
of
might be the 2.
Do you think like a team like that should get?
What do you mean?
Well, like, you just mentioned if a 6-star could be a 7-star, but there's only a couple of the teams that could be like that. And let's say you become the head coach, or let's say, Georgia State, not asking for it, Coach Martindale, just talking out loud.
Sure.
If you win so many titles at your school, like at some point, like 6 stars doesn't feel like enough. So what kind of extra designation do you think you could even be out there? Could you be the 1 7-star? Could you just be like gold, like literally like gold outline. Like I don't know
There
what it would
should be whatever that little matchup screen. No, you know what? Introducing each matchup, Reece Davis should have to refer to your team as a juggernaut. Nobody can
Okay.
nobody gets that designation until you win X number of titles in a row.
Then you turn into, here comes the juggernaut FIU Panthers.
That's right.
That's not what I think Reece Davis sounds like. It's just me pretending.
No, that sounded accurate to me.
Not bad.
I got to be honest. I'm not familiar with who Reece Davis is.
Former quarterback for one of these teams I'm about to mention, Oklahoma.
Okay, I thought he was the candy guy.
No.
Oklahoma's a 6-star. Feels right for now.
Like, other than they haven't won the biggest game since,
but they keep winning their conference, right?
Right. Like, they keep winning their conference, and they're in the discussion, and they're in the hunt, no matter what their conference is.
And by the way, despite the fact that they have some squeak by victories in the conference title game, on regular season record, keeps winning the conference going away until last year.
Mm-hmm. Oregon's an interesting one because they got to that 6-star. I'm imagining I had to go back at 12 and 13, but because of what Chip Kelly had been doing, and turning that team into a 6-star, they're no longer 6-star for me.
And Rich Brooks. I mean, let's not throw him out. No, they're not a 6-star anymore. I guess they're a 5-star. I mean, especially with USC and UCLA on their way out of the Pac, and they are really well positioned to
what
win.
Has Oregon done since then? Like it's literally like since like, okay, I think they were in the first playoff. Right. I think they lost. They beat Florida State. I think in the first.
They beat Florida State. Got beat pretty handily in the championship game.
Yeah, by Ohio State, right?
Right.
Okay. Since then, which was like the year at, or like the year and a half after, or whatever this game came out, like it's been a lot of like, they should be good, but they're not that good.
They've been to a lot of Rose Bowls with no hope of getting into the playoff if they had, won that
Rose Bowl by default.
Game. Yeah, exactly. Rose Bowl by default. It's a great way to say it. That being said, they are. They're coming off.
We're talking about the tippy top.
No, I hear you. Like, no, you're right. They're not a 6-star program anymore. But the reason I would believe that they are still a 5-star program is they are coming off a really remarkable bounce back run by Mario Cristobal.
Like, it's really recent history we're looking at here. Stanford. Pretty sure that's not 6 anymore.
I was about to say, speaking of a really recent history, I mean, so again, like I looked this up, the 3 years going into this, NCAA 14, they had won 11 games each of those 3 years. They had multiple Heisman contenders on their roster during that time. I mean, they're probably like, this could be the biggest fall in the game. I take it back. This will be the biggest fall in the game. The question is, do they settle at 3 or 2 stars now? Because
you think they could go to 2-star?
I do, because David Shaw clearly is not going to make that program any better than they are right now. And they really could. And this is, again, we go to recency bias. They really could bottom out this year, dude. They really could be a 4-5 win team this season.
Well, I appreciate you calling me dude. It feels cool.
Yeah, well, you are cool.
Like
by the way, if they are a 4-win team, that's not bottoming out because they were a 3-win team last year.
Look, I think they should drop to 4 at the very minimum. And I would listen.
You mean at the very maximum? Like that's the highest level they should possibly have is 4?
No. I mean, like they should drop at least 2 spots minimum.
Gotcha. Okay.
And maybe 3. But to drop 4 spots is a ton to lose in that amount of time, man. Like
But my guy, they have lost that much. I'm going to keep giving
you. Bro, I get you. Fella, I'm on in. Champ.
I mean, I hear you. It's a lot to lose, but they really have lost that much. You
literally like have to have Herm Edwards as your coach.
Well,
I feel like
okay, so I'm glad you bring that up because that is, I think, what makes this hard to believe is you and I and anybody that watches not just college football in general. Like, there's a reason when draft weekend comes around, there's a reason the NFL calls David Shaw to be their guest analyst on the program. Like, we know he is a good coach. We know he knows football. I just think given the limitations of Stanford, he has ridden that thing as far as he possibly could.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. It's just we're talking about to the degree that you think as far as like the drop in the video game. I'm not talking about. I think David Shaw should have been fired 2 years ago, but whatever.
Well, I mean, all right, and here's another part of my argument. Like the David Shaw probably was never going to get better than he was in 2018 when they went to the Sun Bowl, if I remember correctly, that year. Which still is not great given what Shaw took over. That being said, I think the fact that nobody at Stanford would disagree with you and they still don't care to make this move tells you why they deserve to be at least in the conversation for a 2. I think they are going to be a 3, but I would not have a problem if they were a 2.
I would like it to be at a meeting where you would open, like, all right, let's read the minutes from the last. Okay, any new business? Demetri raises his hand. I'd like to propose Stanford be a 2-star prestige team.
Yeah.
I would like, let's open the conversation.
Washington State is going to pass Stanford in the next round of.
Are you calling that?
I'm calling it.
You're calling that right now?
I'm calling it right now.
Oh, my dude.
Stanford's last, I just looked this up to confirm. Stanford's last bowl game, they played Pitt in the Sun Bowl. Both teams struggled to get to 2 touchdowns, Arky.
Yeah, but that's because they got good defense.
I disagree.
All right, last 2, Texas. Not 6-star anymore.
Not 6-star.
But still 5?
I think 4. Well, I think they deserve 4, but yeah, I agree with you. They'll probably be 5.
You can't lose to Kansas and be a 5-star either, I don't think.
No, I mean, Arky, only to live, if only we lived in a world that logical.
like that's how the transitive property works in this, right? Like you lose to Kansas,
that's right.
You lose at least 2 points on your stars on your prestige if you're at 6.
It was the first year they lost to Kansas. So would that still been Charlie Strong? I think so. Where the transitive property was they lost to Kansas, who lost to Northern Iowa, who lost to, I mean, it was some ridiculous team that gave out scholarships. Like the transitive was so far down. It was hilarious.
All right, let's wrap this up with USC. Not 6-star anymore. I mean, it could be very quickly back to 6-star. That's that.
Arky,
like, I think it's just.
I don't know that they won't be a 6-star anymore. I think they will still be a 6-star. Now, do they deserve to be? I don't think so. But again, using the standard we applied to Michigan and Notre Dame, then adding on top of that, of those 3 schools, Michigan, Notre Dame, USC, whose future are you most excited about? It's USC's.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Well, I mean, I don't get that excited. But
I think unless Lincoln Riley in year 1 is an abject disaster, I think there will be enough hype to keep them at 6 stars going into the next game.
It's a lot. It's
I
a lot
agree with you.
Based on literally like since Pete Carroll, there's been so much like, are they back like Texas is back, right? Like, do they finally have a quarterback that they like? Blah blah blah. And then like by the time you start October, they have 2 losses.
But Arky, I would point out, while all that is fair, unlike Texas, since Pete Carroll left, disregard what I was about to say. I was going to say they've been to multiple Rose Bowls. No, they have not. They've been to a Rose Bowl and they have been to a Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, and listen, they also did get to play Alabama, right?
That's true.
At the beginning of the season.
They all pretended like they were dogs. It was fun.
It was. Was that like 55-13 or something?
Was it 52-6, right?
Yeah, it could have been. It was a lot to a little. All right, so that's how we would.
By the way, Arky, that year, they went to the Rose Bowl.
Year they got beat by Bama so bad?
That year they got murdered. Yeah, 52-6. I'm looking at it right now. They went on to beat Penn State 52-49 in the Rose Bowl.
What a great Rose Bowl.
Ended the season ranked number 3.
I'll never forget. I went on the air the week that Alabama USC game was going to happen, and I thought, I think USC's kind of good. Like, I think they're a good team.
Well, you weren't wrong. They were kind of
That's what I'm saying. 52-6 happens, and I thought, wow. And everybody decided to make fun of me on the social media for that year. And then they go into the Rose Bowl, win that Rose Bowl, and no one wants to hear it still because they're like, 52-6, bro. How good could they be? It's like, I don't know, beat a bunch of other teams. All right. That's going to do it for this here podcast. That's how we would do the prestige ratings. I think it's kind of interesting. We got a good show lined up for you next week, but we're not going to tell you about that until next week.
That's right.
So until the meantime, Demetri, I would like for you to say something good to the good folks that gets them out of here and on to their next life part of their life.
Arky, I'm going to say save and sim to next week, and I'm also going to do this while I do it. So this is a little treat for everybody watching on the videos. Save and sim to next week, everybody.
Only for video.